I'm SdW Wijze. I teach political philosophy at the University of Manchester. I've been teaching political philosophy for the last 25 years in South Africa, the United States, and the United Kingdom. I found that one area that I've been teaching has garnered particular intense interest, and that's the problem of dirty hands. And I think the reason for this is that the problem of dirty hands gives us some insight as to why we dislike our politicians as much as we do.
Okay.
We don't like our politicians. We think of them as feckless, as deceitful, as manipulative, as people who obtain political power to feather their own nests. And undoubtedly that's true for some politicians, but not for the vast majority, certainly not in a country like Britain. We do better to understand them in a more subtle way. And one of the ways in which we can understand them better is to understand the problem of dirty hands. What are dirty hands? Well, dirty hands are situations where the politician, or whoever is acting in that particular situation, has to do wrong in order to do right. They have to commit a moral violation in order to bring about a much lauded or much desired end. Here's an example. Sir Stafford Cripps was the Chancellor of the Exchequer in the 1950s, and he stood up in front of Parliament and lied to his parliamentarians. He lied because he had to do so in order to protect the British financial position at the time. They were going through a very hard time, and they knew that they had to go for the gold standard. But if he had said this in Parliament in response to a question, this would have resulted in speculators undermining the policy. As a result, he had to lie. Now, lying to Parliament is a very serious offence, especially since once you've lied, it's impossible for your colleagues and for the country at large to understand what you've been doing and to assess you properly. But in this particular case, he had to do wrong in order to do right. As a result, we incorrectly blame him for lying to Parliament as he had to do in that particular case. Here's another example of the problem of dirty hands. And this is a more extreme case and perhaps more controversial. This is the case of targeted killings, or in some cases people refer to them as target assassinations. If a politician or if a government realizes that there are very serious threats to the lives of their citizens, and in doing a targeted assassination they can prevent many people from being killed, there is an argument that says they have to engage in extrajudicial killing. Some would say murder. Here's a particular case, a very special case of doing wrong in order to do right, because in democratic liberal societies like our own, we do not engage in extrajudicial killing. In fact, we don't engage in killing at all. But there are some circumstances where this might be absolutely necessary to protect the lives of many of your citizens. So what do we have here? We have a situation where we need to talk in a more subtle way about the interaction between political conduct, effective political conduct in certain kinds of situations, and the constraints of morality. And this is essentially, in a nutshell, the problem of dirty hands. It's a problem that engages with issues of trust, with issues of lying, deceit, even torture and murder. It's an issue, it's a topic of intense interest to everyone, and it's found in the common, if you like, folklore in terms of novels, plays, books, and we can do a very careful job of analyzing this in a philosophical way.